Let's bring in national security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant, along with retired Navy Rear Admiral Montgomery. Rebecca, let me start with you. It really does seem as though both of these leaders, Putin in Russia, Zelensky in Ukraine, are hell-bent on continuing this war, particularly Vladimir Putin. Obviously, it's a war of defense on Zelensky's part, but Putin seems not to be letting up despite all of the pressure from President Trump.
Because Vladimir Putin has a taste for war. He believes he's got Russia's economy on a wartime footing. China continues to support Russia diplomatically and with oil purchases. And the Russians have about 13,000 missiles and drones of various types stockpiled. Okay, most of those are surface-to-air missiles, but they have an ongoing ability to attack into Ukraine. And this is what's making it so hard for Trump or the Pope or anyone to find out what will appeal to Putin enough to bring him to a ceasefire. I think it's attacking more legitimate Russian military targets.
Yeah, Mark, what do you see as the way forward? Does Dr. Grant there have a point? The only way to make Putin take notice is to take down more of his own military infrastructure?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I do agree with Rebecca. What I would also go and say, though, is that we need to actually impose some of our own costs. President Trump is the most powerful man in the world. He can use economic sanctions that could significantly degrade the Russian economy by sanctioning, for example, the shadow ships that are delivering fossil fuels from Russia to India and China and Turkey, evading sanctions. If we sanction those countries receiving the oil, Vladimir Putin will fill that in a pocketbook in a way that he won't be able to fund the war at the level it is.
And Dr. Grant, when you look at this and how long it's been dragging on, do you see any weakening at all of Putin's grip domestically? Is there any pushback at all you see coming from anywhere? Or is the only way anything changes in Russia is through bringing about a Russian defeat, through more pressure, however that defeat looks, whether it's a military one or an economic defeat?
I know it's so perplexing, with maybe as many as 1 million casualties killed and wounded, with all the impact on Russia itself. But Putin rides this narrative that he's opposing Ukrainian terrorists. And the Russian people remember that Putin brought prosperity many years ago, and they just continue to support him, of course, with complete control domestically. It's very hard to have any legit opposition, but it is incredible how he holds on over there.
Mark, any prospects you see for a Russia without Putin in the medium term, at least?
I do think it's unlikely. Again, those sanctions will force him to choose between spending 40% of his budget on defense or 60% of his budget on placating his base. If we reduce the overall amount of money, he either has to fight less or take more risk with his base. So to me, that's the only way to really undermine Putin in a way that brings him to the table with Trump and Zelensky and resolves this conflict.
And Dr. Grant, if I can move to China now. President Trump says we're moving closer to a deal with China. We have these meetings scheduled for London next week. How important is it in a strategic sense to have good relationships or better relationships with China?
Well, these trade and tariff issues with China, make no mistake, we are in a fight for the future of America and the future of the world. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent puts it so calmly, talking about de-risking, but really this is about whether China will play fair at all, ever, whether it's on rare earths or anything else. These are some pretty crucial talks, and I do think Xi Jinping is getting a little bit worried, though.
Mark, how big a threat do you see China as being? The #1 threat to the United States?
Oh, they're clearly the most powerful and technologically advanced military that we'd have to face, and the strongest economy we would have to face. So they're a more challenging and threat to us than even the Soviet Union was, in the sense that the Soviet Union really never presented an economic challenge to the United States in the way that China does. So I consider them a significant threat, and one that we need to deal with head on.
That's a very good point. The economic threat is on top of the military threat. Mark, great to see you. Rebecca, great to see you too. I hope you both have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.